So I had a panel of tests done last month. I have not engaged with any new sexual partners since then. I'm willing to show you my panel. I have the results on my phone, but I do want to say that when I show it to you, it feels very exposing to me because I have HSV2 or herpes. And so I just want to I feel like I'm ripping off the Band-Aid because that's kind of scary to admit, but that's just the truth. And so when I share this with you, if I'm going to show that to you, could you just could you take a breath and be cool in case that just triggered the hell out of you?
Okay. Yes, I can do that. And so you're going to show me your test results,
Which are all negative except that one.
and I'm going to show you mine. And I'm a little uncomfortable about this part of the conversation. And the reason is I don't know, like you said, HSV2 is herpes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't even totally know what that means,
Okay. Do you,
but
so
I know. So I thought we would be sharing results and saying, so there are no risks. And what you're saying is there's some kind of risk, but I don't know what it is.
right. So do you have test results?
I have test results.
Yeah, you probably don't have an HSV2 result on yours because in our area they're not currently testing for it anymore.
Okay.
So you might even have it and not know it.
Oh,
So I know I have it because I had a test done 20 years ago, and I know I have it. My outbreaks are managed very, very well, but this isn't actually, it's not curable. I manage the outbreaks really well. I can tell you what I do to keep my partners feeling like they're not necessarily going to be exposed. And like sex does have risks, and it's it's challenging now because most people in our area now aren't being tested. So a lot of people use words like clean and dirty, or clean, like I'm clean, or but there's I don't even know. If I look at your test results, I won't even know whether you already have this. So we can have a longer conversation about protocols and what we might do. But right off the bat, I just want to say that I'm sharing this with you, but you might already even have it and not know. And that
wow, that's complicated. That's a little
yeah.
so okay.
But I don't
So
want to imply that you do
but
either.
that means that I have something that I need to learn to really.
The
Wow.
same
So
the
yeah.
same goes for
Okay.
HPV. Like you could have any number of strains of it and just not know because unless you have specific symptoms.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you're going to share you show me your results and I show you mine, and that only gives us a window into what we know and not what we don't know.
Yeah,
And so we have to decide what risk we're willing to tolerate
exactly.
outside that.
Right. So I said I haven't had any sex with new partners. I do have a partner who is also HSV2 positive. And how both of us manage that is we pay really close attention to the tingles. So herpes, there's a little sore that will show up, or many of them that will show up in the genital area. HSV1 would show up on the mouth area, like a cold sore. And so we just pay attention to the tingles. So as soon as either of us feels a tingle, we just refrain from having intimate contact in that way until we're clear of the outbreak.
Okay. So so you have this and your test
The
shows up.
tests
Mine doesn't
show
show
it.
anything.
Yeah.
And you haven't had sex.
Nobody knew that would expose me in any new
Anybody
way.
new.
But I do have another partner who I am having sex with who does also have it. And we both follow this particular protocol.
And so aside from the tests, then you haven't had any of those symptoms that
Haven't had
you
any
watch.
symptoms. Nope. Feeling
Okay.
great.
All
Feeling
right.
great. Haven't had an outbreak for 2 years, actually.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
feel really good. And I have other partners who have been managing to stay clear for years as far as they know.
Well, that's interesting because now I don't even know whether am I exposing you to something? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Huh.
Things get really
But I
complicated.
suppose that, I mean, I suppose that's also true of COVID.
Yeah.
I don't seem to have it, but
Yeah. But we're not testing all the
yeah,
time.
so there's risks. Okay.
Okay. So
All right.
so this isn't a deal breaker for me that we don't have every bit of information because I've gotten comfortable with the idea, but I would like to see your panels so that we can both be sure that
I can
like
show
we know
you
what
what
we're
I have.
dealing, we at least know what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks for not freaking out.
Okay. Well, now I'm freaking out of something like completely different.
Well, that's fine. I like
I could
freaking
have
out.
stuff and not know it.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. The dangers of dating a sex educator. Um, so the next piece is preferences. And preferences, like some of this we've already talked about. I mean, we've been talking all evening, and so you already know what my pronouns are, and those aren't a preference. Those are my pronouns. Please, like they're not optional. I'm a cis woman. I'm happy to use she, her pronouns. And you know, the rest of preferences is about like my orientation and my expression. And I think what's important to share here is that, you know, I'm pansexual. So I don't care what I have about the parts of your body that I have not seen yet. I don't care what's in there. I'm interested in you. And yeah, that's me.
And so now you want me to tell you
About any
my
preferences
preferences. Well, I prefer my pronouns to be in English because those are the ones I understand. So, yeah.
in other words, you don't have any other preferences about them or interests.
No, I mean,
I know you told me that you use he and they.
I do that. That came up earlier, and so, yeah,
Orientation or
yeah. So
expression. If you want to share it, honestly, as long as you're interested in me, I don't
Well,
even, you don't need
I was going to
say.
say for the purposes of this conversation and tonight, yeah, I am interested in you.
Okay. So I don't think like,
And-
you don't need to like
Okay.
explain yourself
All
further.
right.
I know it, I mean, if you want to, I'm open to having that conversation, but we don't need to. The next piece is relationship status and agreements. And we definitely talked about this earlier. We met at a polymixer earlier. So I think
There's a
we're both,
certain
there's an
expectation.
expectation, but I want to be clear, like my agreements are that I have agency to choose my partners. I feel very clear about where and when and who and how I date. I have extreme clarity in my written agreements. And so I know what my boundaries and limits are, and all of those are about me. So my partners don't make decisions about my sex life and how I interact with people. And I know that's not true for everybody. So
Yeah.
even though that's true for me, I would rather you just told me whatever, if there are limits or if there are, you know, veto agreements or whatever you've got going on, if you could just share that with me, I would feel much safer.
So I guess if I'm being completely honest, then so yes, we are yeah, explicitly polyamorous, my partner and I. And we are a couple and we date outside of that. But it's interesting that you bring up this explicit conversation because thing is I don't always know how they're going to respond when I get back. Like
That can be hard.
yeah, so the what you said, you said you for you it's clear you have agency. I have agency, but I don't always know how it's going to land.
Have you ever found that you're in a situation where, like, so it sounds like you have a nesting partner, somebody who lives with you?
Yeah.
Have you ever found a situation where like they've gotten angry and like lashed out, or
Yeah,
has
so
that like
yeah, that
actually come back to the person that you were with?
no, it's not come back to like it wouldn't come back to you, but it would be something that I had to deal with. I'm not even sure. I don't know how much it's relevant to our connection right now.
Well, it
but
definitely
it
matters to
could
me that that would have an impact on you,
it
but
could
I'm also thinking of myself. Like,
and it wouldn't
I don't want anybody to follow me home.
yeah, it wouldn't be that, but there could be pressure to if I wanted to see you again, not. And the thing is, I don't even know from here.
Okay, so that one could be a deal breaker for me because
Okay.
I have a really hard time. I'm not demisexual, but I have a really hard time with the idea that my my ability to see a partner again is made by somebody else. That decision's made by somebody else. So, and I know that can be hard because you might feel like that's you making the decision, but then like you said, like you don't know, and there might be a rule placed on you from the outside.
Clarity of your agency is that I can see from what you described how that's not fully what I have in my relationship, which then can
been at this a while.
Okay. Well, let me think through that, because there is then some then I have to decide what how much agency I decide to give myself.
So I think for me, given what we just said, I'd like to say that I think I would want a cap on like how far I'm willing to go tonight at the very least.
Oh, okay.
So we can talk about the specifics toward the end of this conversation, but I think that is just gonna I'm just gonna want to make sure that I don't go further than I will feel comfortable with somebody that I might not ever see again.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we can't hang out. Doesn't mean we can't even play, but
okay.
And I appreciate you being really honest, because most people just lie about that.
Well, the thing is, I'm not sure that I have heard a description like yours of like, you just get to decide, because everybody I know there's some sort of like back pressure sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can come. Yeah, we can navigate that.
It's okay. There's a whole letter for that at the end.
Okay.
So let's do E. E's for emotions. And like, we've been already exchanging this, like, I feel really solid about how the emotional exchange is going all evening and right now. But when I engage sexually, like I just said, like, I don't need a ton of emotional connection, but not none either. And what we've got feels sufficient for me personally. Do you have any emotional needs around?
I think that I do, and I think we've achieved them. Like, I feel, it would be hard to like say exactly what they are, but I feel.
Is it one of those, it when you feel it situations?
There's a level of connection and complexity in our interaction that if it was missing, I think I would be like, no thanks, but I'm feeling it.
Okay. So aftercare, which kind of leads right out of emotions.
Yeah.
Like, personally, so this comes actually, this leads right off of this idea of agency, because my biggest aftercare requirement, other than let's please make sure there's water. If we're gonna have sex, I want to know that there's water to drink afterwards. Really hate it when there's not. So that's like immediate aftercare.
Sex.
No. In fact, no sand sex either. I have lots of reasons.
Where that would be.
But I also want contact the next day. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be, a brief phone conversation, but I don't want just like no contact or just a text. That really bothers me. It can be a 3-minute phone call, but just like hearing your voice and not like that feels very humanizing to me, and it makes me feel a lot better.
I have never thought of aftercare in this context.
How do you take care of yourself?
It sounds great. Like, like to like just actually, I get to.
Do you know you get to have needs?
Nice. Well, yes. But it's just like framing it as, this is an emotional exchange that doesn't have to be in a little container that you then leave forever until you build another one.
Like, I mean, I've been to parties and stuff where I'm like, I don't know, I don't need anything, or I like where I've gone planning to not have that, but that's not what I'm feeling here.
Right.
Because I'm feeling a level of emotional connection that I'm really enjoying. So if you could commit to having a conversation tomorrow.
I do commit to that. That sounds
awesome.
Great.
That's all I need.
I guess unless you decide after we do whatever we're going to do that like, well, that's enough of that. And you're like, no.
Okay, it's true that there could be a boundary, but
that's part of aftercare, right?
If you agree that you want a conversation, then I would commit to having it, even if like a short conversation.
So I really do get to have needs. Yes. Nice. Okay, well, I would want to have a conversation.
Okay, then let's just plan that.
Okay.
I'm available around lunchtime tomorrow, so.
Okay.
Cool. Oh, we're to the fun one. Now we get to decide. What are we gonna,
The
what are we gonna
deciding.
do?
Okay.
So I like to get very, very specific here, and just decide what action. So like I said, I think I'd like to like place an upper limit on what I want to do. And I know that everybody's idea of like what constitutes sex is different. So I'd like to say that because we're not totally on the same page around like the first part of this conversation around STIs and around like agency, that maybe we could just, I'd like to just sort of cap it around keeping, I think keeping pants on tonight would feel pretty good.
Pants on. Okay.
And I don't have special pants on or anything. Like these are just regular pants.
Just regular
Yeah.
pants. Okay. Well, that might be a good idea because you've presented some stuff that I don't think I've fully taken in yet.
Okay.
I don't think it would be a good idea to.
That said,
Disappointing, but
yeah. I mean, it is kind of, but also I feel like it's exciting that we're having the conversation.
well,
And
I think so too. And the way I feel is, so what it means is that this moves slower because there's things we need to work on.
and slower than what? Slower than
I
a one-night
imagined,
stand,
I
or
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Which is, but I also hadn't imagined a bunch of this stuff. So now
Okay. So if that all sounds good, like let's go find a spot.
okay. And I guess keep your pants on.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.